Hello, it's Debbie Gilbert. I'm the host of the Business Awards show, and I'm also the founder of the Best Business Women Awards. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Craig McMurrough, who is a leadership and culture consultant for Accenture. And he recently joined our judging panel here at the Best Business Women Awards. And today we're going to talk all about why he's got involved with judging the Business Women Awards, a bit about his career and why he is so passionate about leadership and culture. And also, he's just won an award himself. So we're going to talk about that and why he won that award. So you've got to listen to the full episode to find out more because this is a really interesting episode, but also covering some sensitive topics as well. So welcome, Craig.
Hi, Debbie. Great to be here, and thanks for that amazing introduction.
Thank you for joining me today. So with the Business Awards show, we always start off by talking about your career and why you're doing what you're doing. So tell us a bit about what you do and why you're so passionate about it.
Yeah, be delighted to. I work for Accenture, as you've said. I'm a leadership and culture consultant and essentially help organizations develop their leadership population, look at their own culture, their existing culture, determine if they want to change what that new culture looks like, and also help teams in topics such as high performance, you're developing their performance. And I like to actually talk about performance culture rather than just culture change because it's a big, kind of domain, and actually we can get lost in that very broad definition. So looking at how we increase performance, but also get leaders to be their true selves and be authentic, and all those creating psychological safety, all those sometimes buzzwords, but actually it's about being effective leaders in today's modern and challenging world.
Yeah, very challenging. So you got involved with the Best Business Women Awards this year as a judge. How was that experience?
Amazing, thrilled to be asked, of course, and I mean, really quite a I say emotional, quite a deep experience reading through the entries that came through there. I mean, fabulous efforts by business leaders, women out there creating amazing, startups, responding to challenges in society, community. I mean, quite humbling to read all this. And of course, I'd love to give everybody, 100 out of 100 and top scores, but, you have to, differentiate. And I think there was some standout efforts by people who, the stories just jump off the page, quite frankly. And when there's so much, content in there to read, richness and advocacy for whatever they've done by their customers, peers in their sector. Actually, it was hugely enjoyable to go through it. So, quite a number of hours spent, and I didn't mind it, of course. And it was quite educational just hearing about some of these great businesses that are out there, and people doing so well in this challenging world.
Very, very challenging. So awards have played a role in your journey, in your career. And I want you to share what awards that you've been given over the years, but also to bring us up to date with the latest award. I'm going to let you share that. So tell us a bit
Okay.
about
Yeah.
awards and what role that they've played in
Yeah.
your.
So I'll start off by saying I am Mr. Ovary at the weekend. And what I mean by that is I dress in a giant ovary to spread awareness for the signs and symptoms of ovarian cancer following the tragic and untimely death of my sister, who was 43. That was 9 years ago. So I decided to go on a campaign, a mission to spread awareness. I got a costume made up. And this thing stands about 7 foot, bright pink fallopian tube with the signs and symptoms of ovarian cancer on the back of it. So wherever I go, whether that's running a marathon or the Great North Run or standing in a shopping centre somewhere, I'm spreading awareness. And through those efforts, I have been awarded a couple of accolades. Pride of Britain, a couple of years back to 2000, the BBC Fundraiser of the Year 2023, a Points of Light Award by Rishi Sunak a couple of years back when he was Prime Minister, and drum roll, the latest, and I'm hugely thrilled about this, is the British Citizen Award for my services to healthcare. So that is all about promoting, by saving lives, of course, for the awareness of OC. And I know because people have told me that what I've been doing and what we've been doing, I should say there's also a Mrs. Ovary, another ovary. There are two of us, anatomically correct. So we have been spreading that awareness, and clearly that's been doing a good thing because people have gone to their GP, got a second opinion, been tenacious with getting a full diagnosis. Sadly for my sister, she was misdiagnosed with fibroids, so it took too many weeks to really identify what was going on. And by that point, the cancer, because it's so aggressive, had just gone to a point where there was no way of saving her. So it really did, massively impact our lives as a family. And out of that, I decided to turn my grief, if quite frankly, into a coping mechanism of getting on this. Every time I put that ovary on, I'm thinking of my late sister, but also how I could help other women,
Mm.
families, men as well, because they don't often recognize what an ovary is. In fact, we get all sorts of ideas and suggestions of some of which I couldn't repeat on a podcast, quite frankly. But if people remember the ovaries and think, "Oh, I remember those," four kind of key symptoms, which we could talk about later. That's a good thing. We're doing a good job. And so I'm going to Parliament on Thursday of this week to receive my award with 26 other folk across
Wow.
different categories.
That's amazing. And were you into running before your sister passed away?
Yeah, so I was thinking because I grew up in Ireland, and I think I did my first 10K when I was age 9. I was All Ireland speed walking champion back in 1987, some years ago. I feel very old. It's all about the swing of the hips, sashaying, right? So that's probably set me up for what I'm doing right now, I guess. So yeah, I've always been athletically orientated, and was starting to help other charities like Breast Cancer Now, um, the Help for Heroes, the RAF Association, before Cheryl sadly passed away. So I'd sort of switched from obsessing about a personal best in my
Mm.
running time to actually getting, for greater good, some real, outputs from these runs, i.e., cash in a bucket, or new opportunities to spread awareness. British Heart Foundation as well. So once I'd realised, my word, Ovacome is a charity that doesn't get enough investment.
No.
Ovarian cancer just doesn't get enough profile, quite frankly. Then there was only one thing to do really, and to get out there.
So ovarian cancer, we discussed this before we went live on the podcast, affects around 7,000 women per year. So what sort of symptoms can people experience, and when should they go to their doctors and get some checks done?
So there is an acronym called BEAT, BEAT, which are the early signs and symptoms. That's important to mention that some of these in isolation, aren't so
Mm.
sinister, but if they're all presenting, then definitely go to a GP. So the first one is B. So B is for bloating, and that kind of doesn't go away. E is for any changes in eating habits. So feeling full quite quickly, is something to be aware of. A is the pain in the abdomen or in pelvic area, and T, any changes in toilet habits, so needing to go more frequently, in all those aspects. So BEAT is an acronym that we encourage people to think about, and go and get a medical opinion. Phone Overcome. They have a free phone number. They have a set of specialists that people can talk with. So don't you know don't sit in isolation. Have a conversation. Women are generally pretty good at checking themselves and being aware of any changes in their body. So the slightest sense that something is not right, you should go and get an opinion from a GP. 7,500 women are diagnosed with ovarian cancer. It's often caught at a very late stage, which then, of course, diminishes the outcome. Sadly, so the sooner we can get in with early diagnosis, like any cancer, really, the better.
And how much money have you raised so far for this cause?
So it's nudging 100K.
Wow.
So that's through various collections. And we're coming into, well, next year will be the 10th year anniversary of Cheryl's passing. So been at it for obviously a chunk of time. And Mrs. Ovary came on board, Sarah, my friend, who's actually a clinical drug development
Right.
CEO. So she's in the medical world, and she really brings that, extra level of kind of medical understanding to the partnership. So we go to companies and we attend their well-being days. So we're not just running on the streets and roads of the UK. We're
Right.
out actually in businesses recording podcasts like this. So any platform we can get to spread awareness, we love to take it. We're embarking on a tour of the UK and Ireland next year. So we're trying to get to all regions and spread awareness on the radio, maybe TV, certainly out in the streets and various aspects. So yeah, it's a real campaign. Ovacome are an amazing charity. There are others in the UK, Target Ovarian Cancer Action. But again, they don't get the presentation, the representation that we really need. I would like to see compulsory screening for women in the UK. There are some myths attached to the cervical smear test. That doesn't pick up markers for ovarian cancer, and I'm here to try and bust some of those myths. Women need to have a CA-125 blood test, which pick up the markers for ovarian cancer, and doctors need to be, recommending that if there's suspicions that those symptoms are there and they're real.
Do you think it's the cost that's stopping the screening happening? The cost of the screening? Is that the problem?
It's probably a factor.
Mm.
I think also, not so again, the GP in my sister's case just didn't know, didn't recognize what was going on, and there wasn't any, sadly, urgency to get Cheryl. Whether she should have survived, I don't know, because it's an aggressive cancer, and we'll never know, of course. But I
Okay.
just want to, trying to plug all the levers we possibly can, to get this awareness out there.
Had you heard about ovarian cancer before your sister was diagnosed with it?
Nope.
No.
No, not in the family at all. Um, so they talk about BRCA genes, etc. But if folks have family members who've had ovarian cancer, and in our case, my late sister's daughter, she's been tested for the gene, etc. So you've got to take those actions after these very sad things happen. But no, a bloke in an ovary, you would hope people would listen to at least,
Mm.
or pay attention to. And I think it's a conversation starter, and folks are really starting to understand that these symptoms need can't be ignored.
No. And how long from when your sister was diagnosed to when she passed away?
Um, it was only about 8 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah. So in fact, probably slightly quicker. That period was still a bit of a blur, quite frankly, in
Mm.
terms of actual elapsed time. But Cheryl was very active. She was an amazing person, by the way. I haven't really talked about her. An earth angel. She was a speech therapist for the NHS. She gave so much to others, the community. She helped children with speech and language difficulties, autistic children often. They loved her at work. Her clients loved her. Um, she was just that person who would light up a room with her bright blue eyes and infectious laugh. She was just a really beautiful person, and you know the reason I do this continue is because of who she was and what she did in life. And I want, she was complaining of fatigue in the lead up to all of this. She put it down to a very busy career, you know, but darting around Northamptonshire and Leicestershire where she worked. But would come to my folks' place for respite the weekend, even with her family. She had two young kids who are obviously a bit older now. Um, and, there were just worries generally, but felt that her fatigue was due to this, hectic lifestyle or hectic job. But then things progressed very, very quickly. She was still quite active. She helped empty the contents of my late grandmother's house, actually, back in the April of 2016. And then by June, like 25th of June, she'd gone.
So that,
So it was hugely aggressive. And I will never forget, like many folks who've been through this harrowing experience, doctors saying there's nothing we can do to save her. and her having to say goodbye to young children was
Yeah,
horrible.
horrible. Wow. I mean, I'm hoping there are people listening to the podcast that have those connections within the TV networks and also magazines, and radio, because radio would be great for you as well. And just to get the message out there and get more promotion of the charity and the work you're doing, and utilize this wonderful award that you've got to further the cause, because this is what people often don't understand about awards. It isn't just about what you've achieved, it's about what you can achieve. And actually, awards open so many doors. Um, so we were chatting before the podcast about TV opportunities, and I was a little bit surprised that more TV programs are not interested in featuring this because, 7,500 women is still a lot of women. And it seems to be affecting a lot of younger women as well, doesn't it?
It's brutal. It's sort of age agnostic, if you will. And so each year, the charity Ovacome run a gala dinner for folks, well, for awareness, but also for fundraising. There's
Mm.
a fashion show as part of it, and the models, all of which are undergoing some level of treatment. They're at some stage of ovarian cancer, and the models range from people in their 20s, and older. So it's indiscriminate, quite frankly. So yeah, whatever we can do to get out there and just educate. If people, if it makes a difference for one person that they go to their GP when they might have put it off, and get some level of diagnosis or treatment because there's something going on, and it might not be right, but let's inform and educate where we can.
No, I think that's a really good piece of advice. And I think if businesses are looking potentially for a charity of the year to support, then get in contact with Overcome as well, because
Yeah,
it's a good opportunity to do something and be proactive.
yeah,
Um, I mean, I was certainly blown away by your story. I have a brother, I have two brothers actually, and I think it's amazing what you're doing because actually not many men would do what you're doing. And I think your sister would be incredibly proud of what you've done. What's the experience of going to the palace like? Because you went to the palace, didn't you?
yeah. I am. I've been twice, in fact.
Wow.
So off the back of my award for the fundraiser of the year from the BBC, the Lord Lieutenant of Cambridgeshire nominated me and others to go to the palace last year for the first um, uh, garden party of the year, and I took my late father, and just had a great. We wore our matching teal suits, of course, teal being the color of
Right.
Ovacome, the brand color. So we felt like we were ambassadors for the day.
Brilliant.
And in fact, it coincided with World Ovarian Cancer Awareness Day, which just felt really appropriate. So the day was amazing. Weather was incredible. Um, it was a proper day out in London. I took my dad to the Dorchester for mid-morning coffee, and then took him to the Goring Hotel for lunch. We met my cousin, who's an actress in the business, and then went to the palace. And we both loved every second of it. I got to shake hands with the king, which kind of really did top it off. And then this year, I've been invited back again through my, ongoing services, if you will, to healthcare. And I brought Mrs. Ovary along with me. So I chose a morning suit this time. And Sarah, Mrs. Ovary, looked fantastic, amazing, fantastic, amazing. All of those words in a beautiful gold dress. Um, before the before we even got there, we went for lunch, and we met with, I mean, name dropping here, um, Christopher Biggins, um, uh, Liz Hurley, and Kim Cattrall from Sex and
Ah,
the City.
yeah.
They happened to be in the same hotel, so we had we were buzzing already. And then once we got to the palace, we were fortunate to be presented to Her Royal Highness, um, and Princess Anne,
Ah,
who was kind of blown away by our chat. Found it hugely humorous. Did thank us for not bringing or wearing the ovaries to the palace on that day, which was It was a nice chat. Um, she did say at 71, I think she would never have run a marathon, although she was quite fit. So we had a bit of chat and a bit of banter. So it made the day, really, quite frankly. So awesome experiences, quite
Mm.
honestly. And again, being amongst other people who've done great things in their lives,
Mm.
not just in the UK, around the world, the Commonwealth, etc. It's a fabulous experience. It really is.
Yeah, and I think it's lovely to be recognised for what you've done as well. What races have you got coming up this year? Have you got anything that you're...
Yeah, Great North Run in
Oh,
September. Great South Run, which is
right.
important. North Run is Newcastle. South Run is Portsmouth. I was due to go to Australia to do the Sydney Marathon in August, but I've deferred that for a year. I had some injuries this year, which just have uh, slowed down
Mm.
put it, stop the training. But we'll be ready for the Great North Run. This will be my 17th, I think, at Great North Run. Mrs. Ovy's going to be with me. Our friend Joe, who's also a really good, strong advocate and ambassador for Ovacome, and she's always around and about in our support team. Um, and yeah, we're looking forward to 26. We're right in the middle of planning for all of that. So 2026 will be a big year for us as Mr. and Mrs. Ovary. And we'll get out there, and who knows, we might even take on Europe, the rest of the world thereafter, Debs.
So do you create a Just Giving page every time, or is it one page
No,
with
it's a rolling page. We did.
rolling page?
We've got a rolling page now, which just is a total that accrues obviously, and we'll keep taking it. We've got QR codes and whatever people want to give on a day. I carry a bucket or buckets,
Mm.
when I'm running, and so people throw cash in on the day, and certainly in the Great North Run, and or they can find the code after the event, and or just contact Overcome and and
Yeah,
and, and
we'll
stick
make
it in.
sure we share the links
Yeah.
in the show notes. So how did you get involved with Overcome? Did you contact them after your sister passed away, or were they helping her when she got her
No,
diagnosis?
we were just coming to. I mean, it was probably the day after Cheryl passed away that I just felt I'm going to need to do something for Cheryl's funeral to try and raise some funds.
Mm.
So I just Googled, and Overcome was the first one that popped up. By the way, there aren't many charities I referenced
No.
earlier. So Overcome was there, and I spoke with Lee, the wonderful Lee Priestley at Overcome, who's their fundraising manager. We just kind of connected, and I said, "Oh, could you send us some ribbons and badges for
Mm.
Cheryl's funeral? Because I want to get a donation going there." And I think we got £900 or about £1,000 just at Cheryl's funeral to begin with. I thought, wow, okay, this is where I need to. This is what I need to do. Um, and then the rest just followed. The creation of the Ovary. I started a choir during COVID
Oh,
for people going through that. It was virtual and face to face, of course, when we were allowed to do so. Um, yeah, so I just try and come up with different ideas and novel ways of creating a bit of attention for this cause, for this charity, but also then making a difference somehow.
yeah, and I think you're a great example of somebody who's, making a difference and bringing something positive to something that's so tragic and so sad. But actually, you've made such a huge difference. And how do you bring your experience with your career
Yeah,
to working with this charity? Because I'm guessing you must bring some of that knowledge and experience into what
yeah.
you're
So I've led change and transformation programs myself across many organizations, large global corporate businesses. So I can't, and maybe it's subconsciously I do this, but you got to create that vision, understand the why, using all those aspects, but really be clear on the benefits as well, and having an engaging program or endpoint from start to finish. So using different techniques of engaging, and I think particularly working with senior stakeholders and getting their hearts and minds on board as well. So it's all those aspects of perhaps winning people over, but also clarity in where you need to go. So the planning for 26 is all about that vision, that endpoint, but the key aspects of the fundamentals along the way of connection and ensuring we've got a budget to get us around the country as an example.
Amazing. It's amazing. Right. I just want to summarize because, what you've shared is such a lot of interesting information. So if you're listening to the podcast today and you've got connections in any form of PR, that's TV, radio, magazines, please get in contact with Craig. We'll make sure his details are in the show notes, including his LinkedIn profile. And if you are a woman suffering with some symptoms and you're not quite sure if, what they are, please go to your doctor and certainly get in contact with Overcome as well, because they've got lots of useful information on their website. And if you can donate, we will make sure there is some details in the show notes of your donation page, or if you want to get involved with the charity, because a lot of the people who listen to our podcast are in the health arena, because we have lots of people who've got their own, therapy businesses, wellness, all kinds of things like that. So, maybe adopt the charity as your charity of the year or get involved in some way, shape, or form. A donation can be a gift of some sort to their annual ball. It could be anything, couldn't it?
Yeah.
Is there anything I've missed?
Comprehensive, Debbie. Thank you. Really enjoyed it. Thanks for giving me the space as well to tell the story. Really appreciate
Yeah.
it.
I mean, I think what you're doing is incredible. And I'm really grateful to you for coming to judge the awards this year. I hope you'll come back again next year. You're a really good judge.
Oh,
And
thank you.
it's good to have people with a broad range of experience judging awards because often um, I think when people say to me, who judges your awards? And I say there are 26 judges, they're like, how many? Like 26 people. And with the Best Business Women Awards, we certainly need a male perspective in the panel because I think it gives us a good, fair breadth of experience, opinion. So we don't have an all male, all female panel for that reason. We like to have that mix. And I think what you brought to it was your own perspectives and your own experiences, which is a breath of fresh air, to be honest with you. So thank you for that.
You're very welcome. And
Thank
I'll be happy to be involved next year if you'll have me back.
you. Yeah. And hopefully I'll see you at the final in October and meet you in
Indeed.
real life.
In
Not just
Daventry, I'll be
impossible.
there.
Yes, in Daventry. So it'd be good to see you and celebrate with you. And hopefully we can help you get a bit more awareness about what you're doing. And good luck for your trip to Westminster this week to get your award.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Craig.